So here we are in the Montealban neighborhood. I'm going to kind of walk you through Montealban. Let's take a look. All right, so we're walking back into Montealban. The units you see in front of me are definitely townhomes. They're, parking in the front. They're even for rent. If you're looking for a smaller home, here, I'll walk over there so you can get that number. So I'm gonna turn. So there are some homes over here for rent, and hopefully you can get that number. But those don't look very big. I mean, I would say they're probably 1 or 2 bedrooms, 2 stories, but it's in a great neighborhood. And as with anything in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. So I just flipped it because here's another house for sale, for rent. Again, I know I've made this point probably by now, but as you walk these neighborhoods, these houses might not show up on these websites that I mentioned earlier, and I'm not going to shout out too many of them because none of them are paying me. So they might not show up on those sites. But if this is something you want me to keep doing every day I walk, I'll just drop on this harness and I'll hit a different neighborhood until I walk all over Merida, because I feel like it's important. I know when I was looking for a home, one of the things that I couldn't find was like, tell me about that neighborhood, tell me about this neighborhood. And so my buddies Nate and Cassie have a neighborhood project over on their website. I believe it's Native Nomad's Life or Vlog is their channel, and their website is Native Nomad's Life. But they have a project called the Neighborhood Project, and maybe I'll try to work with them so they can link back to this. But as I walk these neighborhoods, they can link to the videos that talk about the neighborhood and the Neighborhood Project, because I know one of the things that they have is on there is walkability. So here's another thing that I think most people aren't going to be prepared for. Here, every house, those are beautiful dogs. Every other house. Buenos dias. So the thing that I don't think most folks are going to be prepared for is that as you look at a house, you may have a house with 6 dogs, or 2 dogs or 3 dogs, and they bark. So it is a little different. In the States, you don't, occasionally you hear a barking dog, but here, that's like, you're in Mexico, you hear barking dogs. So you kind of have to get used to it. So just to give you an idea, I've walked up and down the streets here. I've only did about 2 miles so far. So I believe this neighborhood is probably, 4 to 5 blocks long, and then 4 to 5 blocks deep, very similar to the one that I live in, which is not even, a half a mile from here. Merida is really small. People are like, oh, I don't want to live in the north, and I was that guy. I don't want to be too far north. Well, heck, the difference between North Merida and Centro is 5 miles, and I walk that sometimes. You've seen some other videos, I'll link to them, but you've probably seen a video of me and Veron out for a Sunday stroll back during the pandemic, and I'm walking all the way from North Merida to Centro. We walk all the way to the Zocalo, so it is not a big distance. When you talk about North and Centro, you're talking 5 miles. I've made this comment a few times, that, you know, I live within 4 miles of, or I would say even 3 miles of 4 Starbucks.
Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt your video, but I wanted to give you a brief word of encouragement. In 2018, we were doing the exact same thing you're doing right now. We were watching YouTube video after YouTube video, trying to figure out this Mexico life. So when we got here, we decided to document our process, document our plan, document every single thing that we possibly could to make it a little easier for everybody that came behind us. And so that is documented on MexitPlans.com, our blog. Please consider becoming a MexConnect member and help us keep making great content. All right, now back to your video.
One of the things I absolutely love about Merida, let me see if I can get you that, is palm trees, man. They're a lot of work and they create a lot of, you know, they shed and fall and all kinds of stuff, but my gardener does an amazing job with pruning and keeping our trees looking nice. This is, I don't know if I'm gonna take, let's see, I'm gonna walk up. So I'm actually gonna skip a street. No, I'm gonna walk the street. I was gonna skip a street so I could take you to the main, kind of the main road, or the road behind the main road, but I'm gonna walk back down here just out of curiosity. That's the other thing is, if you're like me, I love some of the shows back in the States, like House Hunters, and and a few of our friends have actually been on House Hunters. Amoya Shante was on House Hunters. You know, I love just walking and looking at the houses and seeing what they've done to get an idea of when I finally find a place that I want to buy, to get an idea of, you know, what's possible. Heck, it never fails. I'm gonna actually backtrack because I want you to see this house I just passed. And let's see, German Shepherd. But a good example, like, look, this is the side of the street I was just walking off. Look at that. You walk in the property and you see just an incredible, you know, that looks like a single story hacienda style home. It's not for sale or anything, but I just wanted you to see it because, you know, you get it behind the wall and you just have, you know, a pool, a garage, and just a dope house. That's one you can actually see a little bit more of. But tons of flowers. There's always something blooming here in Merida, which is another thing you should be considering if you have respiratory issues, is that this is constant spring for the most part, where there's always something blooming. So, you know, you have a high rate of asthma and people with respiratory issues because of that. That, and then with the humidity, some of the homes, a lot of the homes, not some, a lot of the homes that haven't been maintained, that aren't properly sealed, will have mold. And it's just, you know, here they don't see that as like, oh my God, there's mold. They're like, yeah, just wipe it off. So you have to make sure that your home doesn't have mold or have a mold problem. It's not uncommon that if you leave for 1 or 2 days, or I would say a week or so, and your house is shut up, it's gonna get mold, which is why, you know, every home here is pretty much open air so that the air can flow through it and the house does better when it's that situation. We haven't had any mold issues, knock on wood. I've had some clothes that mold, or like shoes when we were gone for a few weeks, but it is definitely common here, and they don't take it as it's not as crazy as we think about it, I think, in the States, where it's like, oh, you got mold? That's like almost a deal breaker for us in the States in some cases. Here's a thing that's a real deal. Don't know if you can see that. Let's see, the fumigation sign. That's apparently someone who's advertising for fumigation lives there. But let me just go over here so you can see this house. So this is the house with the sign that was on it. Look at that. House is gorgeous. 3 balconies, 3 bedrooms with balconies. House is gorgeous. It's a corner lot. But yeah, bugs are another issue here. But get your house fumigated. We find them dead. We don't see them often moving unless you walk outside or something at night. But those big water bugs, can have you shook if you're afraid of them. Here's a home, looks like it hasn't been lived in a while. You know, looks like it needs some care, but it may be going up for sale. The one next door to it is getting some work done, remodeling. Wow, they completely gutted that house and they're fixing it up. So it might be on the market soon, or someone is gonna live in it. All right, so I've walked pretty much this entire neighborhood except for one street, which I don't think I'm gonna walk because I am ready for some coffee. And I am supposed to meet my wife at the park. So from this point out, it's just gonna be me walking to the main street.